Welcome to the Daisy Blue Fashion Variety Show. I am Nancy Blizzard, your host, and my guest today is Maggie Burns from Marie Margot Couture.
Thank you, Nancy. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Tell me how you got started in fashion.
Oh goodness, it goes back a long time. I learned to sew when I was, I think around in the 4th or 5th grade. I was in 4-H and I made cute little aprons and different things. And I came from a large family. I've got 7 siblings. And so I've got 3 sisters, and you can imagine that my mother did a lot of sewing. So through the years, she taught me how to sew. And when it came time for the prom or we needed a special dress for a special occasion, we were always the most fashionably dressed girls at the school.
And what do you like about Bridal?
Oh, Bridal is such a special occasion. There are a couple of things that really pointed me in that direction. One is that it's the most wonderful day of a woman's life to that point in her life. And she's very excited, she's very optimistic for the future, and it's just, there's just something so magical about the day. Part of it is that it's my belief that weddings are a ritual, and that's not a big surprise to anyone, but ritual is what makes us become a civilization, and to be part of a time-honored ritual as a wedding is it's just something that's spectacular in my mind. Another thing that I like about doing bridal is that each of the custom gowns that I do is one of a kind. It's kind of my duty to help her, help guide her into a dress that would be perfect for that occasion, and still to retain her personality and her comfort level with the dress. So there's a lot that goes into the design, just because it is such a personal opportunity. Most women have not ever had a dress made specifically for them. And so it's my job and it's my pleasure to be able to design that dress and make this a very luxurious and a very happy and a very gratifying experience for the bride, because this is a memory that she'll take with her. The first step that we do is we sit down and she brings me ideas of what she likes. Pinterest has, millions of ideas of wedding dresses. We'll start designing the gown for her, and if comes a point where it might be that the designs that she's chosen might accentuate a part of her body that may not be the most attractive or something of that sort, we'll talk about some other solutions. If there's a part of her body that she wants to accentuate, then we can do that through the design process. And by the time we get to the sketch pad, we've talked about the venue, we've talked about how she sees herself at her wedding, what the level of formality is of the wedding itself, whether it's in a church or a synagogue, or is it in a park, or is it on the banks of a river. I will sit there with my sketch pad and will actually sketch out the dress while she's at the consultation. That gets it pretty well narrowed down. The next step in the process is I will take all of her measurements, and I will do a muslin, which is basically a practice dress out of just plain cotton. And this is the opportunity that she has to actually see the design on her and see if the silhouette is attractive, if she likes any of the different features. She may want to change the neckline, or there's all kinds of variations that could come from that. And then from there, we'll actually start working with the actual fabric and laces and things. And there will be 4 or 5 fittings after that, and we come up with the final gown that fits perfectly, and it's her actual dream gown.
when they finally put the dress on, and all after everything, all the sketching and the fittings and the planning, and they finally put that dress on.
Oh.
What's the look on their face when they?
Oh my gosh, I've had moms, of course, but also I've had brides just burst into tears because this was really the first time that they actually saw the dress that they had in their head and have it finished, and it's fitting perfectly and everything is fine with it. And it's a very emotional experience for them. And to know that they've had the input into the design and that their intuition was right, that was the dress that was going to make them just glow. It's a really special experience.
I would love to see one of your models.
Germany is wearing basically a column dress, and this is of fabric that is what they call laser cut satin. And so the border in the satin comes that way when we buy the fabric. The border is a little bit stiff at the bottom. It kind of dictates what kind of a style we'll turn up with. On this particular dress, I knew that I wanted it to be a column dress and I wanted it to be strapless. And to soften it, I added the embroidery edge tool to drape down the back. Would you turn?
Yes.
And show us the back.
The back of this dress is beautiful too.
The tool adds just a softness to it. It gives an ethereal quality that I was really looking for in this particular dress. It's got just enough sparkle to be fun, and yet it's not an over-the-top dress that many girls might be uncomfortable with as far as too much sparkly.
What materials do you like to work with?
Well, my favorites are anything silk, and silk is just such a beautifully workable fabric. It drapes so beautifully, and it actually does what you tell it to do. Some of the synthetics, you have to kind of struggle with them to get them to work. Stacia is wearing a more traditional look. We did the original or authentic Alençon lace on the bodice. And then, Stacia, if you can show the side at your elbow where there's a little bit of a peekaboo through the lace there at your hip bone. Just adds a little bit of zazz.
That's nice.
And then we added the gloves that give a really upscale, uptrend look to the gown. And one of the things that I've also done is emphasize the need for brides to have a little bit of flexibility at their wedding. So I could envision that this bride wearing this dress would come down the aisle in this flowy, more ethereal skirt. And then, Stacia, could you remove the skirt? And then when you remove that skirt, you've got a totally different look for the reception. Many of the gowns that I design have some element that can either be removed like a skirt, or some of them are basically a silk slip dress and then have a tulle overlay with beautiful lace on it. And the lace is positioned so that it coordinates and it accentuates the dress overall. So, you know, they do have a specific look for each part of the evening.
Let's see another model too.
Oh, okay. This is one of our dresses, Kata. I'm right now in the process of making a gown for a real bride that will be black, and it will be in tulle. So this was kind of my practice dress to get ready for that. So Katka, if you would like to turn.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So again, the bodice is covered with an Alençon lace, but this is not beaded, does not have any rhinestones or sequins on it. The flower at the waist was one that I made. It ended up on her waist, but it goes well.
It does. It really does. That is a beautiful dress. And so How many layers is this? How many layers is the skirt?
There's at least 3 or 4 layers of tulle, and they have varying depths to them, so they're not all the same width. But I did trim the bottom edge in lace to define the train.
That is really, really pretty. Can you turn around too? I want to see. That's really beautiful. I kind of like the way that back kind of juts out just a little bit. I like that touch.
Well, the nice thing about working with tulle is that you can give it some texture, and you can play with it and make it do what you want it to do, and give fullness where you want it.
Do you design wedding attire for other members of the party?
I do, actually. A large part of my business is for the mother of the wedding. Especially in Colorado, it's difficult for the moms to find a dress that they feel dressed up in, but they don't feel like they're going to the Met Ball in New York, you know. We're just a much more casual society here in Colorado, and so I do a lot of mother of the wedding designing. They come to me with a basic idea of what they want, and you know, but I still go through the same process with them to help them choose the right look for what they're looking for.
Do you have fashion trends in bridal?
There are some amazing designers coming out of Israel and the Middle East that are just stunning, and so they are kind of setting a tone as well. They're the ones who are producing the gowns with the very bold, more modern, more Moorish, if you will, like the old-time Moors. If you travel in Europe, you see all of the mosaics, and these laces are reminiscent of those mosaic patterns. They're also the ones that are coming up with the kind of see-through dresses that are becoming so popular in the bare midriff with, you know, so you can see a hint of skin behind the lace. The trends going forward, we're seeing a lot of capes, we're seeing bows. A bow everywhere is, I mean, it's just any place you can imagine, on the shoulders, on the waist, at the back waist, at the back neck. Bows are big this year. We're seeing more colors. They're mainly pastel colors, but the brides are trending to not be so bound into the white dresses. It was a big thing for the gowns to come out and be champagne a few years ago, and now that's kind of getting to be a standard. So they're coming out with more colors. And in my personal business, I have made gowns of almost every color. Brides are getting to be more and more creative with what they are envisioning themselves during the wedding and how they want to appear on that day. So it's really a fun time to be a designer. I think bridal boutiques will always have a place on Main Street, but there are a lot of websites out there that are close on our heels. I always caution people from buying a knockoff gown from the internet. So I just want to caution everyone to be very careful about a deal that sounds too good to be true, because it is too good to be true. I've gone through an amazing learning curve since I went from the corporate world to doing bridal gowns full time. I had no idea it could be so challenging and that there was so much to learn. You know, the methods of sewing are different now, and you know, things are just going by really fast. so you have to keep up. And the issue of retail stores going out of business at an alarming rate is one where you've got to adjust or you get left behind. I spent many years in the corporate world, and when it came time for me to do something different in life, I had always wanted to be a bridal gown designer. And I had, of course, been doing home sewing, and I taught myself as much of the couture methods as possible, but it didn't prepare me for taking my business from just a hobby, basically, to actually being able to support myself with the business. And so that challenge was I had to learn the places to source fabrics and trims and laces and all of the things involved with actual sewing. One of the biggest challenges I'm facing still right now is finding factories that will be able to produce my gowns at a competitive rate without offshoring the production. You know, it's got to be a business, or else, you know, it's just an expensive hobby. The industry is always changing because, you know, there are issues with overseas trading and, you know, the materials that are sourced from the Far East, the silks and whatever. We don't have those silk fabrics here in the US, so there's some international trade that goes on, and you have to learn how to do that, and you have to figure out how to source the product from Denver. Denver is more of an outdoor wear community, if you will, of fashion designers. And, you know, like they moved the outdoor trade show to Denver from Salt Lake here just this last season. So I see that part of the fashion market continuing to grow in Denver, but I don't see the bridal and special occasion sourcing coming to Denver. There are so few of us that do this in town that I just don't see that as realistic right now. Finding all of the different people that go into making a production happen is a big challenge from Colorado. The great thing is that we've got FedEx and UPS and the mail system where we can order samples and, you know, we can order things, but it isn't like just going down to the store and choosing.
And so you have been in quite a few fashion shows, haven't you?
You know, I've been so privileged to become a member of the Denver fashion scene. My first fashion show was one that Brandy Shigley had produced, and that was about 8 or 9 years ago, and it was just a really small one. And then I just kept trying to get out there and just try to be involved in more and more fashion shows. I've been so privileged to be able to show in the Red Ball for several years. And then I've also worked with the Denver Fashion Weekend for several years. And then I participated in their first bridal show just recently.
Oh my gosh, yes, congratulations. Wow,
Thank you.
That's wonderful to be invited to all those fashion shows.
Well, it is an honor, and as a result of being in the shows, I've gotten invitations from all over the world to appear in fashion shows, and that is certainly an ego booster. Dubai, Milan, Paris, New York, London, Los Angeles, Miami, I mean, you name it, Vancouver. So these fashion show production companies are always looking for new talent. So fashion shows are a good way to have them find us. You can design all you want, and there's always a place to show. There's always a fashion show here and there. In order to be a real business, you have to approach it as a business, and so that's what I'm concentrating on right now. I'm trying to get better at social media. I'm trying to get more exposure, doing marketing campaigns. It's got to be a business, or else it's just an expensive hobby.
And do you make any dresses for boutiques, or do boutiques contact you for?
Well, I'm actually in the process of taking my business to the next level, and I'm going to be producing a collection that I call the Dream Bride collection that will be for sale in boutiques. I never will leave my custom clients because they're it's so gratifying to talk to the, you know, and be involved with the new brides and be part of their day. But I would like to expand my business to the boutique areas, and so that's really what I'm planning to do.
And how do your clients contact you? Do you have a boutique or?
I have a website, and I work out of my home. My website is www.mariemargot.com, and they can contact me through that contact information, or they can call me at 303-748-3562.
Thank you for watching the Daisy Blue Fashion Variety Show here at Denver Open Media with my guest Maggie Burns. Thank you, Maggie, for being on my show. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing my beautiful models to share the experience with us. And I'd like to thank also the hair and makeup women that were here from Bernice's beauty shop here in town.
Yeah, they made us all beautiful.
Amy, Michelle, and Sarah is our hairstylist. Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.